Welcome back to another Stunt Culture Fast Track Guide. Today we're going to take you through the front handspring up. You're back watching another Fast Track Guide, and today we're going to be going over the front handspring up. I'm Cody.
I'm Christine.
This is Jackson.
You already know.
Okay, so there's a few progressions that we need to go through for this skill. Just make sure, because this is an inversion, make sure that you've been stunting for a little while before attempting this. Don't attempt this as one of your first skills. You should have been stunting for at least 6 to 12 months before attempting this skill. First progression is just getting into the correct shape from a lunge to a handstand. So Christmas is going to go over that.
So just starting in your lunge position, making sure your arms are nice and tall up to your ears, squeezing nice and tight through your core, and then big kick through that back leg.
When you do this, you want to come in relatively fast, but just make sure when you do it and you drive through that back leg, you're not breaking through your core, like Christine said. You don't want that arched back. You want to get to that nice hollow shape. So an exercise that you can do to help with that progression is just the box step ups with a kick back. So Christine's going to go over that one now too.
So stepping up onto a mat, I like to reach for the wall to mimic going into that handstand, that front handspring up. So stepping up and big kick from that back leg. So nice and explosive, nice and powerful. Good, and then 3 sets, a ton of those.
Notice how when she was doing that, just do that one more time for them. Notice how she's not arching her back. She's making sure that she stays tight and she's driving through hard, because you need that power to come from that kick to give you that pop over when you're throwing this skill. Okay, next progression, we're gonna grab one of these mats. And what you're going to do is you're going to kick into a handstand, but now you're going to hold that hollow position and fall all the way to your back onto the mat.
So same thing, big kick with that back leg, and do not change your position as you fall. So just straight into that dish.
Good, and you're going to hold this shape. Even once you land, I want you to hold it for like 3 counts just to make sure that you're in that correct position and to practice holding that shape and having that control. Awesome. So exercise for this one, if you're getting stuck, is just practicing a dish. If you're struggling with the dish, start with your arms down, with your legs a little bit high, just making sure that your lower back is touching the ground. You don't want to have that archery lower back. Squeezing through your core, pushing your lower back into the ground. Start here. As that gets easier, you want to bring your legs down lower, then bring your arms up so they're extended next to your ears, making sure again your back is not arching and you're just holding this shape. So just practicing holding that for 30 seconds to a minute. Do that a few times each day just so that you can gain the control for that dish. So next one we're going to do is we're going to use a cheese wedge for this. If you don't have a cheese wedge, you might have to improvise a little bit. But for this one, what we're practicing is that momentum from when you hit that handstand position and popping up and over. So now you're going to think about using that bit of a flick and push through your shoulders to kind of pop you over. And you're also going to have to drive a little bit harder through that back leg to initiate that momentum. Just make sure that your back's not arching when you do it, still getting into that nice shape. So Christine's going to go over that one.
Same thing in that lunge and big kick. You're wanting that wedge to fall with you as you go.
So yeah, if you have a cheese wedge, it's actually very useful for this. If you don't, you may need to improvise a little bit, but what she's trying to do is actually still hold that shape, but drive all of her power through the cheese wedge so it actually knocks it down. This is very difficult at first and it will take a few goes to kind of get it, making sure that you still use that pop. Awesome. So an exercise that you can do for this one, which Jackson's going to show you, is just handstand pops. So you think about using that flick and pop through your shoulders to give you that extra power.
The thing about when you're doing handstand pops, a lot of people tend to pop either too early or too late. It is a timing issue. You want to get that weightless feeling when you kick up, so when your feet come up to top, meet at the top, that's when you like shrug through your shoulders, push through your fingertips. If you do it too late, I'll show you what happens. You've got a lot of weight bearing down on your hands and your shoulders, and usually you're not strong enough. I mean, you can bend and like fake it, cheat it, but Getting that good technique, you want to pop through shoulders and through fingertips right as your feet come up, snap together. Pop.
Okay, so once you're comfortable with those few progressions, the next one that we're gonna go to is a timer. So you might wanna use a side base for this one just so that they can help guide it in case it goes over too far. So I'm gonna use Jackson for this one. So all we're gonna do, Christmas is gonna start in that lunge. She's gonna drive up through her back leg, get into that handstand position, but she's gonna try and pop over me a little bit. I'm gonna think about staying down nice and low. So feet about shoulder width apart, staying down nice and low. I'm gonna reach out and try and grab her as soon as possible. And then I'm gonna think about just bringing her in and a slight bend through the arms. What a lot of bases do at first, and they kind of get stuck doing, is they bring the flyer all the way into their chest and then try and throw. The quicker you can make this, the easier it's gonna be to throw them up and get them to the top. So I'm gonna reach, grab as soon as possible, and I'm gonna try and stop her because her momentum should drive back and try and they should bend my arms a little bit anyway. I'm gonna look directly into the middle of her back, making sure I stay down. I'm gonna guide over top and then stand up and extend through my arms. And then we're just gonna come back down. If it has a little bit too much, that's where my base is gonna help me guide over so she lands on her feet. But we're gonna do a couple of those now. Cool, so again, biggest thing you need to think about from the base's perspective is staying down, grabbing early, making sure your arms don't bend too far in, and then think about popping the flyer over your head. So you'll notice that one was a little bit slower than the first one. All I would get her to change is as she comes into it, really just think about kicking hard, squeezing your glutes and getting into that shape with that pop through. From there, the flyer just needs to think about holding that tight shape.
Also, just a quick point, make sure a really common mistake that I see a lot in this skill is the base wants to stand up really quickly. So like if you stand up before you've gotten a chance to actually like get the flyer over the top of you, you're stuck here and then you end up bending your back and then trying to throw like from this position, and it's not good on your body. You're not going to get the best amount of explosive like strength out of your stance. So you need to think about staying down as low as you can, let them come up over the top of you and then stand up and block at the same time.
And that leads us into our next exercise. So we like to do this with a kettlebell. If you don't have a kettlebell, you could probably do it with a dumbbell as well. But what you're gonna do is basically get back down to that squatted position that you're in before. Arms in front with a slight bend. You're gonna bring over and back down. And all you're practicing is holding your arms in that same angle the whole time, staying down. So when you do these, I'd probably go for 3 sets of 10 of these.
And obviously you're not going to have a 12 kilogram flyer. We did stunt with human beings, so they tend to weigh a little bit more than that. But using the momentum from the handstand pop will actually like make it a lot easier. So having that static weight of just with no movement is really going to benefit you through the movement when you actually do the front handstand.
That actually is harder, and you probably saw me shaking and my voice changed a little bit. That's actually harder than when I do it with Christine. So, and Christine's at least 3 times that amount, maybe 4. So when you do it, try and like build up to the weight. Don't just jump into something heavy. Make sure that you have that technique and that control first, and then kind of build up from there. What we'll do next is we're gonna do another version of the timer, but Christine's actually gonna come all the way over onto a mat behind me. So I'm really practicing, instead of stopping here, I'm exaggerating, staying down and bringing her right over top of me. So main thing for the base, stay down. This is literally the biggest habit. That's why we said it a few times, that every base has when they start learning this skill, is they just stand up too early. That is the biggest thing. So this,
every stunting skill.
and a lot of inversion skills, yeah. So this one is just gonna make you, you just have to exaggerate staying down. I'm gonna try and not even stand up, literally just bring her right over. Just make sure you do it. Don't get in the habit of like looking over your shoulder. Look directly into the middle of the back, bring them right over top, and then try and look forward. It is difficult at first, so you're gonna have to do this one a little bit before moving your head.
Flyers, make sure when you're like snapping up into that position, you're holding it the whole way, and really try and keep your eyes open so you know where you are, because that'll benefit you when it comes to actually turning in the next bit.
Cool. So do that a few times so that you're comfortable with that before moving on. And then from there, we're gonna go to throwing the skill with a side base first. So the side base is gonna kind of help guide through it and catch. One exercise that we didn't go over that will help before you start throwing this skill with the side base is wall ball throws. So if you have a wall ball or even a slam ball, this is going to really help to build up the power, not just that strength, but that explosive power in throwing your flyer and flicking at the end. So I'm going to show you that one now. I'm starting with a 9 kilo. Of course, you get me the heavy one. Okay, so when you're doing this, start down in the squat. You're gonna start to initiate through your legs. Make sure the ball stays over you when you go to throw. I don't want you to stand up, then pull up and lift. Keep it above your chest. So you're gonna squat, keeping it high, and then throwing as high as you can. So when you do this, really think about flicking through at the end. With this stunt, you actually, as the fly comes over, you're actually going to flick through with your thumbs. Sometimes that's hard to mimic with the wall ball, but still try to do that the best you can so that you can practice for the throw. So we're going to give it the front handspring up a go with a side base now.
I'm side base. I've got you guys. I know you struggle with this one, so I'll help just the right amount.
Yeah. All right, so now the next progression is to do that with a side base before throwing it yourself. If you don't have a side base that can do it with you, then at least have someone there to spot. I always think it's good to do it with a side base first so they can help bump a little bit and then help with the catch.
So the reason why I asked you to keep your eyes open when doing this, so when you can see like the edge of where the roof meets the wall, that's when I try to start to spin. So all I do is just look underneath my armpit because I leave my arms up as I do it, and then just making sure you hold that tight body position through your core and through your butt as coming through.
All right, so we're going to give that a go without the side base now. Make sure you do that more than once. Get comfortable with that. Make sure you're trying to catch it. Make sure you're catching it right at the top. With the catch, I even did a little bit in that one where I turned my body a bit too much. Try not to turn. If you think about finishing through, you can actually help them with the spin a little bit, but if the fly is doing this correctly, you shouldn't have to. You should be able to focus on just finishing, making sure that you're flicking through your thumbs and then leaving your hands up for the catch. You can turn your outside hand. So she's coming and she's spinning around, spinning to the left. So I'd turn my right hand to the wall to catch and then finish by pulling back through to the front. But when you do it, don't get in the habit of turning your whole body and turning too much. You should almost be able to catch at the front just with a slight turn of the hand. The more you think about flicking and finishing, the less you're gonna have to think about turning at all. And it's gonna make her turn a lot easier too, because it's gonna give her more power in the turn. So we'll do that front handspring up now without a side base. We'll give that one more go.
That was sneaky.
Very cheeky.
Cool, so that is some of the progressions that we use for the front handspring up. There's probably more, but these are the ones that have been useful for us, and they kind of break some of those habits that a lot of people end up having. So make sure you follow them through and do all the exercises. Don't just do the progressions and miss the exercises, because you'll probably struggle if you do that. Thanks for watching this video. Let us know what you want to see in the next one.
Like, subscribe, and comment.
Peace.